You all good?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. Thank you. All good. Garage is looking top there, bud.
Well, I haven't got a room in the house that looks pretty on camera, so I spent ages setting this up just to be late for your podcast. So sorry, mate.
No worries at all. No worries at all. I've done it before. I had a. Did you know Reese Laurie? Oh God,
was he on your podcast a while back?
Yeah, he's just been on the podcast.
Yeah, the latest one.
Tomorrow Rider. Sorry, Reese, I totally forgot. I totally forgot the pod. I was out walking the dog, and he phoned me, and he was like, "Are we doing the podcast tonight?" I was like, "Oh shit."
I've done loads of these, and the standard time seems to be 7:30. That's why I was like, yeah, I've got ages, and then I on his text. Yeah, sorry, mate. Anyway, we're here now.
No problem at all.
I've got lights on, everything's set up. I've got a beer, mate.
Happy days.
About your beer. Look at this.
Definitely. Shall we crack these open now? Then what's that you've got?
I've got I've already cracked it. It's a Hazy Jane guava brewdoggy thing.
Guava. Ooh, guava. Look at him.
I'll tell you, Bruce. I asked my wife, my lovely wife, so can you just grab me some beers? And she knew that this is being filmed. So every beer can I've got is fruity and pink.
Brilliant.
Just so it looks nice.
I've got a pinky one.
Big fan.
Right, I'll crack this one open. Mate, if you don't mind, I just want to give a little toast in memory of young Chrissy Rouse. So Chrissy, it was an absolute pleasure to know you, pal. And Dom and the rest of Chrissy's family, thinking of you. Here's to you.
See.
Right, okay then. Let's get on with this. Ollie, how the hell do you not have like 8 million subscribers on your channel?
I don't know. I don't know, buddy. You tell me.
I'm not blowing smoke up. Well, I am blowing smoke up your arse, but it's justified. You've got a bloody good channel. It's cracking.
I appreciate that, mate. Thanks very much. Yeah, mate, honestly, I don't know. I don't know why it's not got loads. I mean, I'm not fussed either way, but I don't know why it has or hasn't got loads of subscribers.
It's got to be, because I'm looking into it at the moment, trying to sort of boost my channel on. It's got to be down to your titles and your thumbnails. Has to be. There's just no other way.
I don't push out a lot of content all the time, so maybe I'm falling off the algorithms. I don't know, but
see, I think that used to be the case where you had to be chucking out, at one stage you had to chuck out at least twice a week, and then they wanted you to be chucking out at least once a week. But I think now what they say is, as long as when you put a video out, as long as it gets picked up by people when you put the video out, then they'll just chuck it out to anyone that they think is going to be interested in it. Certainly it wouldn't harm chucking out more videos for sure, but then you got a family, you got a job, so you do what you can do, don't you?
I'm a busy boy, as we're going to talk about. Yeah, I'd like to stick more videos out, but as you well know, mate, it takes a long time doing this editing, doesn't it? Not this is meant as a bleep, but it just takes a while. So when work gets in the way, that has to come first, because unfortunately the grown-up stuff, it pays the mortgage and all that. So
we'll cover that bit. We'll cover that very shortly.
I'm going to let you steer. I've got no idea how this podcast is going to go. Like I said in that post, normally I get a heads up. I will sort of talk about this. You've just sent me in cold. There you go, mate. We'll have a chat. So
because all this podcast is, mate, is imagine us sitting down the pub, having a couple of beers and a chat. That's all it is. It's just us chatting about whatever comes up, really. I've got questions on social media and across on my Patreon, which we can run through. But essentially it's just us having a chat. Folks, if you're listening, if you're watching, forget the rest of this podcast. Get onto YouTube and type in Ollie, Ollie, space Moto, Moto, Ollie Moto. Check it in. Have a look at the full HD playlist. In fact, there's loads of playlists. I haven't even got around to your Nepal stuff or any of that yet, because I binge watched the whole full HD. It was amazing. And just like you will watch the first 2 minutes of the full HD, and I guarantee you'll sub. It's awesome. So get yourself along. Right, okay. That's me lost all my listeners.
I don't think my head's going to fit in the screen if you keep going.
Genuinely, mate. Honestly, I want to give credit where it's due, and I want to give people a lift up through my reach, however I can, because it gets reciprocated eventually down the line. So, and your channel is shit hot. It's broadcast quality. That full HD is something I'd expect to be watching on like Amazon or Netflix. It's really good.
It's nice to hear, mate, because I know we're going to talk about it like in detail later, I'm sure. But the figures aren't that high on it, which is fine because I don't chase figures. Other than it took over my life for a year. So for the figures to not be high, it's a bit like, I wish it just to give me a little pat on the back for working hard.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We'll get you a boost off the back of this for sure, because I'll share it. I'll share it on my main Teapot channel as well. The podcast channel is much smaller, but I'll share across on my normal socials and.
You're a legend. You're too kind, mate. You're too kind.
Mate, no. Credit where it's due, as I said. Right. So, Ollie, before we crack on, who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? What do I do? Well, my name's Ollie. So what do I do? What do you want me to talk about first, mate? Bikes or work or what? Have you got more to care?
Okay, yeah, let's go. How did you get into bikes? And obviously you have the coolest job in the world, which we'll have to talk about. If you can talk about that, are you allowed to talk about it?
Of course I am. Yeah, of course. So how did I get into bikes? So biking in general, or videos biking, I suppose. So my dad was a biker. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of our dads were bikers in this scene. He rode bikes. I remember just being on the back of his bikes all through my youth. And then, because he was a paramedic as well, when I got to the age that I could ride bikes, his rule was, you're not having a bike. Classic parent, you're not having a bike, they're dangerous. But so I think just through a rebellious streak, I got into bikes. I went with my mate. I remember I just passed my bike license. So how old is that? 17, is it? You can pass your bike license? 18?
16, 17. Yeah, something like that.
I was really young, yeah. And
I should know that being an ex-copper, but
yeah, I know. I was going to come on to that as well, yeah. So anyway, I found an SV650, one of the old curvy models, up in Macclesfield, and I snuck behind my dad's back and went up and bought it. And when I got there, the guy was a bit shifty. It got an MOT, but it was a bit sketchy. But I was young, keen, and I was just going to throw money at him. And it blew itself to pieces 3 months later through lack of maintenance from him, not from me. I look after my bikes. But yeah, so that's how I got into biking. And obviously my dad knew I had one. And from then he was supportive. And then I went through, I suppose in my year, at least, the normal route. So I was a kid who watched a lot of MotoGP. I was always up at Silverstone watching the GP or Donington Park, and I sort of lived in Northamptonshire. So I had sports. I had an SV650, then I had some sports bikes, and then I was track riding. I had a track bike, blah, 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 blah. And then in 2017, I was working with a bunch of fellas who you might have seen in my films, Seats, Whitey, and Al. Shout out to those boys. I love those guys. And they were adventure bike riders, which I'd never really heard of, other than those two people that went riding the long way around and down that everyone heard of. So yeah, they said, get yourself an adventure bike and join in. So I bought a Triumph, went to Morocco with them, and the rest is history, I suppose. That's how Bodge Tape Adventures started, and then that led on to Ollie Moto. But that's sort of my biking. I've not had millions of bikes. I've just been biking for a long time. I tend to keep my bikes for a while. So. Right.
Okay. Then I can sort of. I'm quite similar to that in the sense of my mum and dad. Sorry, that's my dog. Apologies. I'm home alone at the moment. My wife's away.
Cats coming into mine in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So the dog just comes in to say hello. Oi, out.
That's it. I look at him. Get him in. Get him involved.
She's down there. She's a nightmare. She's about a 40 or 35 kilogram idiot.
Oh, right.
She's lovely, but she's got no sense. But anyway, yeah, my mom and dad were very anti-bikes, and I was always told, you're not having a bike, and that sort of carried on till like I was in my mid-30s almost before I got a bike. And then it turns out my dad actually used to ride, and I didn't know any of that.
Didn't know at all?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
He obviously, I think he gave up riding not long after he met my mum, I think, or maybe just before he met my mum. And that was it. I never knew he was a biker. So he used to have a Douglas something. Douglas Dragonfly, is that right? Is that right?
You'll lose me. I'm not too clued up on the old bikes yet.
Yeah. Right, okay. Well, we'll come back to bikes in a second, but can we talk about your awesome job?
If you want to, yeah.
It's just the coolest thing ever. Go on, tell everyone what you are.
So yeah, I'm a lucky boy. So I'm a paramedic, and in my day job, I work for a company called Bristow Helicopters, flying around in the search and rescue helicopters for the UK. So my official title is winchman paramedic. But the way I explain it to people is if you see one of the red and white helicopters flying around that says Coast Guard on the side, and there's an idiot dangling underneath it, well, I'm that idiot. So that's what I do as a job.
How do you get into that?
It's weird. So I was in the military. I served in the Air Force for a while. And I ended up going into search. I was a crewman, so I wasn't in a medical trade. I was called a load master, people might know it as.
Right.
So I used to basically flying in helicopters was my job, but not medical. I got into medical stuff through a side avenue. I think I always tell people, I think the fact that my dad was a paramedic and my mum was a nurse, I think just through osmosis, I didn't even realize it was like a subliminal interest in medicine that popped out at some point. But yeah, so I got into medicine, and then I got offered to go and do a selection for search and rescue. So you remember the big yellow helicopters in the Air Force? You probably saw them on TV because Prince William flew in them. So they were all over the TV. So I ended up on those helicopters for a bit. And then that sort of gave me the qualifications. So when I left the military, I could knock on Mr. Bristow's door and say, hi, is there any chance I can have a job? And I was fortunate enough that I got in. I keep saying fortunate and lucky because it's a very niche job. And I feel quite lucky and privileged to be one of the few that gets to do it. But yeah, it's a fun job.
Definitely.
Work hard, don't get me wrong, but it's still a fun job.
Mega. Oh, mate, I could talk to you about that, let alone the bikes. But, I'm sure that comes up. I had a quick look over some of the questions. I was just gauging how many questions we had, and I'm sure somebody asks about the job. So we'll save any further discussion about that till we get to the questions. So bikes into YouTube. How did you start the whole YouTube thing?
Well, like I said, yeah. So when I went on that Morocco trip in 2017 with a group of guys, I'd noticed at that point that like biking and social media, it probably didn't come on in 2017, but I noticed in 2017 that it was a thing. So I just said to the lads, look, I've always been a bit creative, if you like. And I said and I've always got like want an outlet to do something. I said, should we film it and like make a film? And they were like, I mean, they couldn't care less, to be honest. They were like, whatever, mate. So, and I had absolutely zero film training. I'd never made a movie at this point. I'd never even tried to make a movie. Maybe like bang something together on iMovie, but not done anything proper. So I bought one GoPro, and I said to the guys, buy a GoPro. So we all had GoPros. I think Seats' actually was like a GoPro 2 or something. The joke was that we had to put coal into it to keep it going. But so yeah, we went and filmed it. And I mean, it was hard to film because I didn't know what I was doing, but oh, look at that.
Original GoPro.
It looks like you've made that out of tinfoil.
I know, mate, look.
Right, I want to see you make a video of that and just compare the quality.
There's the 2.
You've got them all.
Yeah. I've got the 2. I've got the 3 Plus. And then after the 3 Plus, I gave up on GoPro till the 7. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a GoPro groupie, I'm afraid. But yeah, so we had some GoPros. And we went to film it, and it was tricky to film because I didn't know what I was doing. They weren't that bothered. Nowadays they are, but at the time they weren't because they didn't have. It was all in my head, really. I knew what I was trying to do, but they had no idea. So it's hard to like go, "Hey, speak to the camera" when someone's having you've fallen off. Speak to the camera, and they're like, "Mate, do one." I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast, so do.
Of course you are. No worries.
But yeah, but then when I made Road to Morocco, which was a series that came from it, when they saw what I made, and it was a bit of fluke, but you can do anything by watching YouTube videos nowadays, can't you? You can even make a YouTube video. So it took off from then, and I realized that I quite enjoyed making them. I mean, they take a lot of effort, but when you put your heart and soul into these things, and when a few people say, "Oh, that was really good, mate," and then a few people would message us saying, "Oh, because of you, I've got back into biking, or because of you, I want to go to Morocco." Me as in like bodge tape. I don't mean me. And that was great. And I thought, actually, we've got an avenue here, exactly what you're doing, mate, with all of your wicked content. We've got an avenue here I don't like use, what's the word everyone always uses? I don't like influencer words. I like the words motivate. I like to motivate people, inspire. That's what I'm trying to say. I like to motivate people to go out and do stuff. Absolutely. So when you get, we had one guy from, I think it was Australia, and he's like, "Oh, lads, I've watched your series. It was excellent. I haven't biked for ages, but I've just gone and bought a Triumph Tiger because of watching your series. And now I'm going to go on loads of adventures." And you're like, well, there you go. Even that one comment made it worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And I fell in love with making movies. So now I make loads. And the reason I do Ollie Moto now, this stuff, we're both branded, like it, mate. The reason I do Ollie Moto is purely because I do bodge tape all the time if I could, but trying to get 4 people in one place at one time is a nightmare. Yeah. And I was like, I needed an avenue to make some stuff. So I do Ollie Moto stuff, and then hopefully we can do a lot of bodge tape stuff when I can get the guys together. But we'll see. Maybe we've got some plans in the very near future. Who knows, Bruce? Who knows?
I say, right. A few more beers and we'll figure out what's going on there.
I'll be anyone's after that. The T-shirt will be off, mate.
So, like full HD, I watched all the full HD series, and then I watched your recent. I think it was your recent How Not to Trail Ride, or How Not to. Yeah, where you broke your shoulder and carried on riding. It was bad enough when you went, I dislocated my shoulder like 3 times and carried on riding, but then it turns out it was actually broken.
Mate, I'm a muppet, so we can talk about that one first.
Yeah,
I always say I tick the boxes for. I mean, I'm a paramedic. I've dealt with lots of poorly people, and I know I tick the boxes for worst patient because I'm a bloke, and we tend to just go, yeah, I'll walk it off. And I'm a paramedic, and we tend to just go, yeah, I'll walk it off. And I'm a biker, and we tend to just go, yeah, I'll walk it off. So I tried to walk it off that day, but actually I had a couple of days off work because it was a bit sore initially, but then I went back to work, so I was still dangling under helicopters. And it was only when I realised it was niggling a bit, because we have to do loads of funky hand signals from underneath. And I was like, my shoulder
with a broken shoulder.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to sound heroic. It wasn't hurting; it was just niggling. I was like, this doesn't quite feel right. So then that's when I got an X-ray, and they're like, yeah, mate, you've broke your shoulder. I'm like, oh, right, okay, that'd be why it's niggling then. And then I had surgery, which unfortunately took me off work for a while, which is annoying. But
there is video evidence of me crying like a baby when I dislocated my shoulder. Genuinely, right? I used to play rugby. I've broken I think I broke both legs. I've broken ribs. I've broke my collarbone. I've done all sorts. I dislocated my shoulder when I got wiped out on the bike. And that is the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. And you were talking to camera and lifting a bike up.
Hey, I'm not tough. There's different dislocation. I'll play paramedic here. You can dislocate in different ways. Yours obviously hurt more than mine. I had an easy one.
Thanks. Did you hear that, wife? Did you hear that? I get nothing but grief.
Bruce is really tough.
Like she's the one that got my phone out in the hospital, because I was lying there I got knocked off at 7 a.m, 7:05. I was on my way home from nights. And then they didn't reset my shoulder till I think it was 3:30 in the afternoon. So I was lying there and they were doing all sorts, like the bag of saline attached to the arm, and with me hanging off the bed.
Yeah. But yours was still dislocated though. That's the difference. Yours was still out of its socket. Mine was straight back in, because you saw me in the video pop it back in. But that's why yours was hurting more. I put mine straight back in.
My wife, straight away, when I'm like trying not to cry in the hospital ward, she's like, "Where's your phone?" So I was like, I was thinking she might like call my brother or my dad or something. She got the phone out and she starts filming. She's like, "You'll thank me for this." She started. The doctor's looking at me. Yeah. Oh, mate, it was agony. It was absolute agony.
Yeah, well, proper dislocations are sore. I've taken some people in the hospital with a full-on like dislocation there. They look pretty sore. But I got lucky that it came out forwards and then went back in again. So we were all right. Yeah, I'm not tough. I don't want people to think I'm some sort of like double super hard bloke. I just got lucky.
We've got a 96-year-old neighbour next door, and he fell in the garden one day and dislocated his shoulder. And he sat there for about 5 or 6 hours till my wife had been out and she came home. And then he walked across the drive to us, knocked on the door, and he was just like, "Any chance you could maybe take me to the doctors or something?" So she ran him up the doctors, and he's obviously had a dislocated shoulder. So the grief I get, because he didn't even blink. He was just like, "Yeah, the shoulders doesn't feel quite right." And whereas I was like, was crying like a baby.
They're so stoic, that generation. You turn up and they do not. Their arm could be hanging off, and I'd walk in when I do my road paramedic stuff, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm okay. Do you want a cup of tea?" I'm like, "No, it's all right. Your arm's hanging off." Like, they're great.
It's a total different generation, isn't it?
Yeah, they are.
Total different generation. Right, dude, I think the best plan of action here is going to be to start working our way through questions, because there's quite a few over on Patreon, and then we've got some over on Instagram as well to get through. So Facebook just seemed to be loads of people going, "I've not seen that, I'll check it out. Or I've checked it out, I've subbed." So you've already got some subs.
I appreciate that. I noticed, I didn't realise you'd posted, and also my Instagram was going follow. I was like, why has that suddenly happened? It's because of you. So thanks, mate. Yeah.
No worries, no problem at all. Right, first of all, we'll head across to the clan over on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, Charlie Callard. Evening, gents. Hope you're both well. All good. Thank you, Charlie. So a couple of questions. I've never been camping, but it's something I want to try. I'm wondering, what are the rules for underwear? Is it one use, or is it inside out and turn them around to save space?
I'm a big fan of packing light. So, I mean, do you want to take that? Are these questions for me? Have you got to say that? You go for it, mate.
For both of us, I think. At the risk of probably turning people off, I'll wear underwear as long as I possibly can. I'm like you. I will pack light, real light. So yeah, forwards, backwards, inside out, the right way around, and then probably go around again for another lot.
So I'd say exactly the same. And what I'd get hold of, and I got issued a load when I used to serve, is antimicrobial pants, I think they're called. If you type in something like that, microbial pants or something, they'll come up. You can buy them. They're the way forward because they're designed to vent, shall we say. Oh, okay. So they don't get too stinky, and you can wash them and dry them really quick. So me and the lads, that's what we use nowadays. We'll just roll around in them. But what I would say to Charlie is, if he's thinking about going on his first time, I know what he'll do. He'll go on, say he's going on a 7-day bike trip. He'll pack 8 pairs of pants just to be sure, and then he'll use 2 of them. I guarantee it, because he just won't bother getting changed, because none of us do when we're camping. So you use, because it'd be too cold. I'll just keep these on. Then you'll be like, oh, right, next time I'll just take 2.
Yeah, camping 100%. I think when I'm doing tours with punters and we're staying in hotels, I'm always like, I need to try and be. It's not as acceptable then, is it? It's not as acceptable to stink at that point. Yeah. You sat by yourself in the bar. Like, where's everyone going? Do you do much of the camping then, the moto camping?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I mean, that's my choice, and I know a lot of the people I ride with, it's their choice as well. I think it makes it more adventure-y for me. And I'm never like and whinge about everyone else. Like, if you want to stay in a hotel, I think that's fine. Every now and again, I'll div into a hotel, especially if it's chucking it down with rain. Sometimes you'd be like, I'm just going to go in a hotel tonight. But I love camping because I love you do this when you're camping, don't you? You sit around, you have a gob off, you drink a few beers, you all shiver together. And yeah, it bonds. Yeah, I love it. It just adds to the adventure for me.
Have you seen the Aussie moto vlogger, Rob, Moto Feels?
Yes. Yeah, I have. I've seen a bit. Yeah.
Have you seen his other channel? He's got one of these ASMR channels based all around camping. So he's basically, he's got the Moto Feels channel, which was doing really well. You know, I think he got up to like 50,000 subs in about 5-6 months or something, or maybe a year. But it really grew quite quick. And then he started this ASMR, which is all about noise. ASMR. I think it's ASMR.
No, I don't know what ASMR is.
So it's just
what's it stand for? Like anti-sensory or something?
Something like that. Yeah. It's basically it's noise. So it's a video, but he will record the noise of the wind in the trees, setting up the campsite, just all the associated audio with that. He will record with a proper sound recorder, and then obviously in post it comes over the visuals and it's emphasized. Yeah. So he doesn't say anything at all. And then I think 1 vid or 2 vid, he'd already smashed like his viewing figures and his subs for all the other Moto Feels channel. So he was like, "Oh, I think I'll start chucking everything into this instead."
I'll do a few more of these, yeah.
Yeah. So there's one channel in the UK, Nick Moto UK. He started doing some as well. I'm not sure how that's going for him, but I remember when I was chatting to Rob, I was like, "Ooh, should look at this." And then I saw that Moto UK had started doing it. I was like, all right, I'll leave that.
It sounds like effort though, doesn't it, Bruce? It's just, we know what film is like. It sounds like effort. Another guy that does something similar, although I don't know if he does whatever you just called it. I don't know if he does it officially, but do you know Tom Hansen in Norway? Thomas S. Hansen. He's a guy that you should tap up. I think you'd get on with him. But he does a lot of, I don't know if he records the audio, but that same sort of thing where it's all about the visuals and the audio and the experience. You sort of feel like you're doing it,
Yeah. That sounds very similar to that. Tom Hansen, right? I'll check him out. Tom
Hansen, yeah, I've been speaking to him for years. He's a really good guy. Yeah,
nice one, cool.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Charlie's got a second question. What's the one luxury item you always take away with you?
The one luxury item. Does a hip flask count as a luxury item?
I'm Scottish. I'd say that's a necessity. Yeah.
Well, I used to live in Scotland, buddy, so it's always got some decent single malt in there. That's another chat for another time. I suppose then.
Kinross.
I was at Lossiemouth for a while, so I used to live in Elgin.
Okay, yeah.
That's when I got into whiskey. I reckon foot powder then, if you want to call that a luxury item.
Wow.
Oh, it's wow, because not a lot of people take it. Foot powder, got to look after my feet when you're riding.
That's the military, isn't it? That's the military.
It probably is. It probably is. Well, yeah, everyone I ride with does, and they're all serving, a lot of them. So, yeah, I always have a big tub of foot powder because when you've had a long, hot, sweaty day, I've usually got sealskin socks on. So you've had a sweaty day.
Yeah.
Look out, keep your feet fresh. That's so boring, isn't it? You expect me to say something really funky.
No, but I've got this. It strikes a chord with me because my feet are minging. They are a state, and I definitely need to be using powder and cream. I just set them on fire, to be perfectly honest with you. One luxury item I'd always take away with me. Well, I used to say my phone, but your phone's not a luxury anymore, is it? It's just no, and that's what I was going to say, something like that. But I've always got a pannier full of filming kit of phones, but I see that as a necessity. I need to post a story on Instagram and film something. So that's just like that side of it. Luxury. Bloody
it's hard, isn't it? When you pack light, it's hard to think of anything luxury.
I consider my drone as part of my camera equipment. Yeah. But you don't need it, I suppose. But the drone just gives you, if it's used right and sparingly, I was just about to say, don't over drone people. Yeah. Don't over drone. Yeah. Everyone does to begin with, don't they? It's like 3 minutes of this beautiful drone footage. People watch 5 seconds of it, switch off. Yeah. Skip through. Over drone. Great. Yeah, exactly. I think I'd have to say my drone, Charlie, to be honest. I can't think of anything else that would be a luxury. I feel like we've let Charlie down, Bruce. I know. Like he's expecting something like very extravagant. I'm looking around my garage for inspiration, but I can't see anything. Good point. Sorry. Sorry, Charlie. I'm out. When you're budding Spielbergs, we got all these cameras, sound kit, laptops. No, I can't think of any luxuries. That'll have to do, Charlie. Sorry, pal. Next one, John Powell. I watched Ollie's Nepal film at the ABR Festival. More than worthy of a big screen. How do you let the arsehole in a group tour know that he is the arsehole? I'm only asking so I know what to look out for. Cheers to you both. Come on, what's the story there? God. I haven't seen the Nepal one. I've seen it. I've seen it. It took me 7 months to edit. I don't know who he's referring to, and I don't want to drop myself in it. How do you let the arsehole in the group? Okay, let's be a bit more diplomatic then. Conflicting personalities within a group. How do you deal with that? How do you deal? Yeah, I think it's best to nip things in the bud. That's how I roll. I'm quite a straight talking fella. I'm a very nice and empathetic person if I need to be in my paramedic world, etc. But I'm quite straight talking. And having worked in small teams in remote places, you've just got to tell people, otherwise it just escalates and escalates, and then it blows up into something it didn't need to be. So confront, but there's ways to confront people. You don't just go up and start poking, do you? You can try and be a bit diplomatic in your approach, but I think leaving things to, I've witnessed it a few times. If you leave things to go on, they just go up and up and up and up and up. And then that's very true. Yeah, lots of swear words get thrown around and doors get slammed, and sometimes it gets a bit physical, doesn't it? But avoid that. It's good. I'd say that the worst. Normally, I'm all right. Normally, I'm okay with the groups that come away with me. But I remember I did a tour to Morocco for another company, and that it was just a bit of a nightmare. That whole tour was just a nightmare. There was issues from day one. Like one of the bikes broke down before we even got onto the main road. We hadn't even left the headquarters for this company. It was just a night bike, a hire bike. It was the company had hired a bike for me because all their bikes were full with the punters. The punters had used all their bikes. So they said to me, would you be happy with a hire bike? And yeah, of course. So they hired one in, and it basically the hire company had just wired the sat nav direct to the battery, like no triggered live or anything like that. So when we sorted the sat navs the night before, putting the routes and everything in, obviously the sat nav had just stayed on and it just drained the battery. So basically my bike was knackered, which then meant we missed the ferry we were supposed to get, which then meant we were late getting into Morocco itself through the land border at Thueta. And then it was we were supposed to be in Fez that night. Mm-hmm. And it's a good, I think, 700 kilometers, 800 kilometers. It's a long ride.
For day one, that's a slog. Yeah,
absolutely. And I did say that to them at the start, to the company. I was like, that's a big ride. And half of this group were like in their late 60s to 70s. I was like, this is a big ride, this. And then it turns out that they weren't the fastest in the world, and had no intention of being any faster. So all those things combined on the first day was just like, right, we're never going to get to Fez. So I'm having to phone up this company from Morocco and going, you need to rebook somewhere because there's not a chance. And then it happened to be like a national holiday. So it's just like, we ended up.
That's like a nightmare.
It was, and things just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And like you just said, if you don't address conflicts within the group early on, then people just start resenting everybody, and it's a fucking nightmare.
And if you do address, I like the word you just used there, if you do address it early on, then it tends to sort itself out very quickly, in my experience. And you think, I'm really glad I had a chat about that. So yeah, absolutely.
And a beer helps, doesn't it? Like, just have a beer, right? Okay, what's the problem? Let's sort it out. Right, okay. So you were at the ABR festival.
Yeah, I saw you, mate, and I came to say hello. I think I texted you about it. You were talking, but you were surrounded by punters, and I was like, I'll talk to them later, and then I didn't see you again. So,
mate, no. Are you going next year?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm doing. I won't say any more because it hasn't been released yet. Yeah, I'm going to be there next year. So
brilliant, good man. I'm there next year. So I'll have a beer with you there for sure.
Mate. Yeah, that'd be
absolutely great. Nice one. All right, next one, Pete English. Oh, here we go. Hi guys, hope you're both fitting well. Fantastic, you've got Ollie on. I've had the pleasure of says changing with him a couple of times at the ABR festival. Changing? With him a couple.
I remember talking to Pete. I don't remember changing.
We'll assume that's like preemptive texting or whatever it is. I really enjoy all his videos and tours, especially the Morocco trip. Also, the recent ride out with Greg and the Adventure Spec guys looked like a great day was had by all. My question: what did you have as a teenager and don't have now, but wish you did? And what stopped you getting it back? Virginity doesn't count.
Damn it.
Excuse me for interrupting, folks, but it is sponsor shout-out time. And this month, we have a new sponsor. Welcome to Travel Escapes. Now, I've got some blurb to read out. Travel and Escape is an independent travel agent. They are ABTA and ATOL protected for your peace of mind. For hassle-free, tailor-made holidays from staycations, day experiences, cruises, luxury holidays, and so much more. You can find them all on the socials or book directly online using the link. Now, folks, I'll leave all their socials and a website link down below. Make sure you check that out. If you're watching a video, have a look at the description. If you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. There will be hyperlinks there. Make sure you give them a click, a follow, a like. And if you're looking for a little break for you and the loved one, you and the family, you and whoever, maybe just you yourself, make sure you check out Travel and Escape. We are also sponsored by Innov. Now, Innov have been a long-term sponsor for the main channel over on TeapotOne, but they're also helping out and sponsoring the podcast. So a massive thanks to them. Innov specialise in motorcycle dash cam systems. They do the front and rear dual camera K series. That's the K3 and the flagship K5. K3 is 1080 front and rear. K5 is 4K at the front, 1080 at the rear. The K5 also has much faster Wi-Fi. So both the K3 and K5 utilize a mobile app where you can view your footage, you can change settings, you can share on socials, you can have a look at your GPS overlay, all this sort of stuff. Both do the job if you just simply want a dash cam. If you ever get involved in an accident, the first thing your insurance is going to ask is there any CCTV? And obviously, if you have one of these systems fitted, then you can turn around and go, yes, I do. And if you head to innov.co.uk and use the code TEAPOT, you'll get 5% off of all Innov and Technologic cameras. So a massive thanks to Innov. And lastly, for this one, we're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons, they make dustproof and shockproof mobile phone cases and action camera mounts. They will fit just about every single bike out there. Me personally, I always use the Helix strap mount because it means I can easily attach that to just about any bike that I'm riding at that time. I can jump on and off bikes and just easily unscrew the strap, whack it on the next bike, tighten it all up, and off I go. It's very versatile. I've had no vibration issues affecting my camera using the Helix strap. That's the one that I will stand by and swear by. Been using it about 5 years now. So again, if you head to Ultimate Add-ons, so that's Ultimate with ADDONS, ultimateaddons.com. If you use the code TeapotOne10, so TEAPOTONE with the number 10, you'll get 10% off all Ultimate Add-ons. Okay, that'll do us for now. Let's get back to the podcast.
God, these are deep. I wasn't expecting such deep questions, mate.
You never know what you're going to get with them. That's why I like the questions. You just never know.
Do you know what? This is going to be a really, I don't know if this is a good or a rubbish answer, but time. I seem to have a lot of time as a teenager to do stuff, whereas now I just seem to bounce from pillar to post and never get, like, just before coming on when you were texting me a minute ago, I was running around the house like it's been carnage all day. I just never have any time. So yeah, I seem to at the time when you're a teenager, you think everything's too busy, but actually I sat around doing not a lot, chilling out and having a good time. So having a good time.
Have you heard the theory behind that? You know, like when you're young, you know, when you're at school and stuff, school holidays feel like they go on forever, don't they? But then, as you said, when you get older, just the years just fly by, don't they?
Yeah.
Have you heard the theory behind it? I heard it on Joe Rogan, actually. It's something to do with he had some psychologist on, and that came up in conversation, and they were like, this is the explanation, and it's something to do with frame of reference. So when you're younger, say up to your teens, or even up to 20, so up to 20 years of age, or certainly going through school, and let's say 10 to 18 years of age through secondary school, you've only been on the planet for 10 to 18 years. So that sort of 6-7 weeks that you get off for your summer, that 2 months, that is what's 2 months? That's a sixth of a year, and obviously multiply that by either 10 or 18. So that's quite a percentage of your overall lifespan that you can remember. Whereas once you start moving into certainly into your 30s and your 40s, you've then got 30 years or 40 years worth of experience and memories. Yeah. So that 2 months is now a much, much smaller slice of your frame of reference that you can think of. Don't know if it's true, but it
makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense. Yeah. But I mean, so time's one thing, but I suppose when I was younger, I'm a bit musical, and I used to play in a lot of bands and stuff when I was younger, and I miss that. Yeah. I don't know if that's a one thing. I don't know if I can class it as a one thing, but I used to play drums and stuff. Being in a band was a great laugh.
Did you?
Yeah. So I was just, as you were talking then, and you were saying, when you used to be young, I was like, I used to play in bands and stuff. Yeah, I miss all that sort of stuff.
Mate, you got a garage. You
don't do that anymore.
Drum kit in your garage. Get an electric one.
Yeah. I used to have an electric drum kit, and my electric drum kit is now walking around and 4 years old. So
fair one.
So life changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, my son is 25 this year.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So, I had him young. I had him at 21. So yeah.
Fair play to you, mate.
that was I was at uni. That was a shock to the system. I've got something to tell you. Oh yeah, what's that?
Oh yeah, I'll go then. Yeah.
You better meet Mum. Right. So, what did you have as a teenager you don't have now? Wish you did. Ooh. Do you know, I don't like to have regrets, but I do wish I used to play at a good level of rugby through my teens, and I wish I'd pushed that more, because I trialed for Scotland, and then I didn't get in, and then I just didn't, I sort of just thought, well, I've done it now. That's that. Yeah, beer and woman took over. And yet, like I trialed with a chap called Jason White, who then went on to become Scotland captain, British Lions, he became a professional rugby player. And I played with Jason all through. I used to play against him all through school levels and then representative level and stuff. So, like I was no way the same level as he was. I wasn't as good as him. But I wish I'd pushed it more just to see, could you ever wear the jersey and walk out on Murrayfield or something like that? That would have been cool. That's about it, really. I tend not to like to have regrets. You make your choices.
What I was thinking. I sort of just crack on with life. I'm not someone who dwells. So
yeah,
I feel that was a really boring answer. I think you wanted me to say like, I've got a bloody KX125 or something funky, but like, I've got nothing I could.
Go on then. Favorite bike you've ever owned?
Favorite bike I've ever owned. I think it's got to be this, to be honest. And I'm not saying that because it's next to me, but this stuff.
Is that the 990?
Yeah. This is my baby. This is known as the Bat Bike. I don't name my bikes, but it was named by Cease's Uncle John, actually. Hi, Uncle John, if you're watching. Yeah, this is the Bat. It used to be black, so the Bat Bike. But I think this is my favorite. Probably just linked to all the adventures I've been on it.
Yeah.
So I've loved all the bikes I've owned, and I've got back into track bike. If I turn this camera around again, my CBR track bike's just here. But this I love this thing. Every time I get on that bike, it puts a smile on my face. It just can't not put a smile on my face.
It's a proper hooligan, isn't it? The 990.
I was about to say it's a hooligan spot. Yeah. And you do ride like a bit of a hooligan. Yeah. I'm a leveled bloke, but not when I'm on that.
I saw that vid when you're careering around Salisbury playing. I've been to Salisbury playing once with a company called Phoenix motorcycle training. They do off-road stuff.
Yeah.
And I was on a little, what was I on? Honda CB 250, I think, or maybe it was a 300. And you could probably walk faster than I was going through most of. Because Salisbury's really, it's like chalky and muddy and slidey and horrible.
Chalk's my nemesis. Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah. I ended up getting stuck in I think it was a tank rut in through the chalk, and I think it was a tank, unless it was fucking great big huge rut anyway that went right across this field. And the instructor who I was riding behind, he sort of came up to it, went perpendicular, crossed it over the other side, and off he went. And like I just mucked it up. So I ended up sliding into this rut, and then it was just like, well, you ain't getting out of that. I just had to slide.
Chalk is a nightmare.
Horrible.
Yeah. Like I'm known for falling off a fair few times, but that's because I always put it in my head because people find it funny. But I do fall over a lot. But chalk is the one that normally gets me. I remember riding with Al Hoosh once, Al from Bodge Tape, and I just heard from behind me and a bike rev. When people fall off and you hear a bike rev, and I turn around and on a flat chalk surface, he'd managed to go over the handlebars. He doesn't know how, I don't know how, but chalk will get you. It will just, if you switch off for half a second, bang, you're off.
There's loads of that over.
No logic.
I'm in Kent, and the next county along, Surrey. There's a lot of the off-road trails there, the green lanes. They're really chalky and horrible. There's
we could meet in Surrey, mate, because I'm in Hampshire, so it's not that far to meet. There you go.
Yeah, but that's to do that off-road bollocks, isn't it? Don't do that.
I can stay on the road. It's fine. But sorry, mate. I'll talk to every story. Go on.
No, mate. No. Don't worry. Just fucking, I've got verbal diarrhea. I'm up for meeting up, definitely. And if you want to babysit me around some green lanes, I'm up for that. Or we go out and do some proper riding on some tarmac.
You can ride this, mate. I've got on this thing. Yeah.
Right, you're on. I'll give you the GS. Oh, you've ridden the GS, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, mate. Yeah. I like them, though. It's good. I don't like the front suspension. But
do you not?
On road, amazing. So I rode an R1250 GSR. I always get confused. One of them. And on road, it was incredible. Thought the bike was unbelievable. And then off road, I thought it was really, really good. I just wasn't a fan of the front suspension. I got off a few times, and Greg, the Wheels of Morocco, he's a mate of mine, but the guy who runs the Wheels of Morocco, he pulled up. He's like, "Why are you getting off your bike?" I was like, "I think I've just dented the front rim." He's like, "No, it's just suspension, mate," and rode off. And I had a look and went, "Oh, he's right." I don't know. It just felt like this has basically got work suspension on it, but it just felt like I was hitting the rocks as opposed to, and I'm not trying to get some come back from the GS community. I don't want to be banned.
you'll have split everyone now, 50-50.
Well, I'll never be able to go to Starbucks ever again. No, but the front suspension wasn't great off road, but the bike, I mean, it was fantastic. Bear in mind, I did the Sahara Desert on it.
Yeah,
it was great. Like really, really good. Yeah.
They are good.
I can't remember what we're talking about there, but yeah, there you go.
I think it was favorite bike. But have you ridden the new Gen 3 KTM 1290 Super Duke Adventure?
I'm not as popular as you, mate. I don't get to ride as many bikes, so no, I haven't.
Right, I will introduce you to the PR folk for KTM then, because they'll love you because you can ride off road. They give me these bikes, and I'm just like, looks good. Put some mud on it. I don't know what to do. You know, if I do go off road,
there's definitely a video in this somewhere, mate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The only reason I'm saying that is because that new Gen 3, it has, it's got telelever suspension on it. Or self-leveling, so it's not telelever, but it's self-leveling, so it rides very much like the GS. But you can switch that off if you want, and it just reverts to traditional front forks. Really? It's really clever. Yeah. I did have quite a few gremlins with the electrics, though, I've got to say, with the electronics. But it's a press bike, so it's one of the first ones out there. So hopefully they've sorted that out by now.
And it's a KTM. I'm a KTM groupie, but the reason I've got so many tools behind me is because I own that thing. So
character, is it not? Is that not character?
It is, yeah. I've learned so much about bikes, mate. Yeah.
Right, next one, Harley. How's it, guys? You find yourself and a loved one shipwrecked on an island. This island has what it takes to live on indefinitely. Do you try and find a way back to civilization or embrace the island and stay? Oh, that's a good one.
I wasn't expecting these questions. Yeah.
Bugger all to do with bikes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
So,
do I stay? When he says, what was it? He says, everything you've got to live. Is that what he said?
Yeah. You get you and a loved one shipwrecked on an island, and it's got everything you need to live on it indefinitely. Do you head back to civilization or do you stay? Ooh.
I mean, in my head, I'm imagining this like super awesome supercross track that goes on forever on an island full of beautiful food and stuff.
Food,
It sounds. Yeah, I have to tell you what I was saying there. Yeah, I mean, it sounds quite tempting, that island, doesn't it?
Why would you want to?
I mean, me and my wife get on really well, so I mean, why not?
Like, why would you want to come back to civilization if the island's got everything that you need? Why would you want to come back?
I'm starting to feel like I don't fit this world as well, mate. I was at the Apple store today because my phone's playing up. I mean, I've never felt so out of place than being stood in an Apple store. What's going on in the world, mate?
They look at you and talk to you like you're a Luddite, don't they? You know what I mean? It's just like...
it made me laugh because I'm only 35, right? And at work, I'm the tech guy. If anyone needs anything tech, they come to me. I go speak to Ollie, he'll sort it out. In that shop, I couldn't have felt more archaic, like more ancient than being stood. I was like, I've got no idea what you're even saying, mate. Like,
snap.
Yeah.
And I find myself like, I've chatted about this before in the podcast. Like when my dad asks me, his email's not working, or what's this mean on his computer, or his iPad's not doing this and it's not doing that. And I get really frustrated because I'm just like, look, every time I see you, I sort this out. In my head, I'm like, every time yeah. And so I get frustrated, and then I have to think to myself, okay, hang on, different generations, isn't it? Yeah. But then my son is now like that with me. Like if I'm with my boy and we're doing something on the phone, and he'll sort of laugh and just go, I can't believe you do that. And I'm like, what have I done? He said, why'd you do it that way? It's, it takes so long. And I'm like, it took me 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And he's like, no, it's much quicker if you do it this way. And I'm like, whoa, what did you do? Slow that down. Yeah. What have you done?
Show me how you did it.
Walk me through it. Write it down.
Listen, mate, the times change. You've got to keep up. Back to the question, though. But I think I'd probably stay, mate. I don't really like people, so no, I'm joking. No, I'm not joking. No, I think I'd stay. It sounds great, doesn't it?
I think it sounds mega. How do you get a ticket to this island, Harley?
Yeah. Where is it? I just want to know how big it is and if it has got a massive supercross track. But I mean, we can come to that in the T's and C's. Yeah, exactly.
T's and C's. Right. You said you started to feel like you don't belong. I can sympathise with that. Do you just sort of I mean, you're a military man, so you've got the capabilities. If push came to shove, say some mad Russian geezer pushes a button, right, and we have this great reset everyone's talking about. You can survive, couldn't you? You'd be able to survive.
Mate, I was in the Air Force. I'd need a decent Hilton or something to.
Were you RAF regiment?
No, I was not. No, I know.
Oh no, that's right.
I was a loadie.
Loadie.
I mean, they taught me some stuff, but I'm by no means some super army soldier. I agree. I don't know. I'd probably stay on the island. Let's go back to the question before I dig myself a hole. I'd stay on the island.
Yeah, I think I would, to be honest. I don't really see why. If it's got everything you need, why would you want to leave? Right. Yeah. Travel agents, I need to find this island. Right, last one of the Patreon questions. Simon Lewis. Hello, Bruce and Ollie. I have to admit, I've not seen Ollie's YouTube yet, so plenty to look forward to. I always admire the amazing work of the emergency services. What's the feeling like when you're lowered on the winch rope and you can never be prepared for the difficult call-outs? Sorry, what's the feeling like when you're lowered on the winch rope and you can never be prepared for the difficult call-outs? Okay, so what's it like getting that buzz when you know you're off to a shout? Do you ever get...
Sorry, mate, go on.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. Do you ever... does it ever get old, that adrenaline rush? Because I remember in the old Bill, going to a shout, like a 999 call with the woo-woos, the sirens and the blue lights, that never got old. Nearly 20 years, and that still made me grin like a, special whatever. Does the adrenaline rush ever subside for your role?
I suppose no. It depends on what the job is, doesn't it? So if it's a run-of-the-mill job, you're a bit like, okay, well, it's just run-of-the-mill. Like in any line of work, you're always working 100% to do your best for the patient, obviously. Mm-hmm. But no, it doesn't get old. You get used to it. So I remember when I was young in my SAR day, in my search and rescue day. Sorry, SAR is search and rescue for people who don't know if I say SAR. So when I was on the yellow helicopters, when the bell went, I was like super excited every time, like a little kid bouncing around like a puppy. Whereas nowadays I'm not as much, but that's only because I've learned through, and I'm not the most experienced SAR person by any means, but I've been doing it a little while. And as you know, even though you said that it still sets you off, which it does when the sirens and stuff are going, I do road ambulance work. You still tailor that excitement because you know that what you're going to is probably not what you're going to, because things never marry up. But I still get an adrenaline rush when I'm going, and that's good because it gets the senses firing, doesn't it? Because sometimes in our job, in this search and rescue job, they only ask for a helicopter a lot of the time if someone's pretty poorly. So you have to be on your A game when you get there. So that burst of adrenaline is good because it'll wake you up and fire you up a little bit. But it still excites me to go and do my job. Definitely. I mean, I'm very lucky to do a very cool job, but I don't. If I link it to like winching out of a helicopter, I don't even think about that anymore. That's just a means to get somewhere. So that doesn't really tick my boxes anymore. I don't know. I don't want that to sound too like, but like I'm just used to it. But
I would still be like, I'm in a helicopter. I've never been in a helicopter before in my life. So I'm just like, never. I'm like, that must be the coolest thing ever.
I'd love to be able to say to you right now, I'll get you flying, but it's so hard nowadays. In the military, if I was still in the military, I'd be like, come up tomorrow, mate, we'll sort you out. But it's hard nowadays because legislations and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, you're a few years too late.
I remember back sadly, remember when the bombs went off in London, 2005? I remember we were all up. I was in a public order unit in the Met then, but we did CBRN stuff, chemical, biological. So we were up at Glen Eagles for that. But obviously the bombs went off, and a whole load of people like Met that were up there basically had to get back to London ASAP. So they basically got shipped to a military base, and they were getting chucked into Chinooks and chucked into big transporters and just flown. But I was one of the ones that was told to stay at Glen Eagles, and I was just like,
mate, that is gutting. Yeah.
The boys were driving the riot vans into the back of these transporter planes, and it was just like, that is so cool.
Stuff like that's cool, isn't it? Yeah, I used to fly on Chinooks, and getting onto a Chinook's pretty cool because they make a lot of noise, don't they? So
yeah. I mean, we did some work with the SAS one time. It was for I can't really give too many details away here, but if there's a hostage situation on commercial aeroplanes, obviously the SAS do do their magic and, deal with it. So you have to work with them to run through some drills and casualty handling and suspect handling and things like that. So we were at an airbase, a military airbase, and you have your briefing. And I'll never forget, like, we had some real high-ranking brass from the Met with us. And my unit that I used to work on, the public order unit, they were pretty much known as, they were called the TSG, Territorial Support Group, but they were also known as the Spice Girls and the Thick and Stupid Group, because it's basically... if you needed something like a door smashed in or like an entry, you sent us. And if you needed a whole load of coppers to have a fight, then you sent this lot. So that's basically what we were, knuckle draggers. But we were renowned for nicking stuff. Like when you went to a nick, you'd try and nick the flag from the top of the station. Whatever you could lift, you would lift. And this sort of chief superintendent was like, whatever you do, that hangar over there is out of bounds. Do not go in that hangar. So what'd you do?
Maybe go for that way, yeah.
Cup of coffee and some biscuits, straight off into the hangar. We went in and it was like all the SAS, the SAS 4x4 Jeeps were in there and all their kits laid out. And then behind them was like the Apache gunships. And it was just like, I didn't touch anything.
It's like the Matrix, isn't it? It's like that scene from the Matrix.
Yeah.
All the stuff comes, yeah.
It was just
if I was going to steal something, I probably wouldn't. If I was going to steal something from anyone, it probably wouldn't be from those lot. Yeah,
absolutely not. I remember, like, later on, I moved into the firearms division within the old Bill, and I remember we were doing some training at one of the bases that we had, and I was just sat on a cordon. I was just sat on a cordon outside an address. So I got my gun up like that. And then the next thing, there was like another stick of military turned up. And it was the SAS guys, because they were all training ready to go out to Afghan. So they did like an assault storm on a building to our left. There's me with my little like 1972 MP5 that we used.
Good guns then. They're good guns. They're all right.
Solid, reliable, weren't they?
Yeah.
But I remember looking at these SAS guys and I was just like, you're 12? They all looked so young, like mid-20s. But they just, to me, it was like, you can't be SAS. You look like kids. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, different life.
Reminiscing, mate. Reminiscing.
Absolutely, yeah. Simon's got a second question. I really fancy hitting the enduro scene. What advice would you give a novice that you've learned through your own adventures and the beginner's bike to go for? So advice and best bike.
For enduro. So I'd start by saying I'm not really an enduro rider. And in case people are watching, they're a bit confused or different. So adventure bike riding and off-road big bike adventure bike riding, or even green laning, is a bit different from enduro, but I'm assuming he's using the term.
I think he means off-roading. Yeah.
So I've just sold, again, for boring grown-up reasons, because I need a new boiler. I've just sold a Husky 350. Nice. And I bought a 350 because my mate Allard from Full HD, he's a rally rider, rally instructor, really, really good bloke and capable rider.
It's quite handy on a bike, isn't he?
Yeah. If Allard's watching, hi Allard. But yeah, I've ridden with lots of people. I've been lucky that, especially doing YouTube stuff, you get to ride with loads of people. But I've never ridden with anyone as quick as that boy. He's fast. He's a different level of fast. But anyway, I had the exact same question for him when I was looking at enduro bikes. So I was riding this still, but he told me to get a 350, and that's a bike that I'd recommend to people. So it depends. What was the guy's name? So is it
Simon Lewis?
Simon. So if Simon's looking to do adventure riding and get a big adventure bike, then a midweight, I'd recommend like a midweight T7 Tenere sort of bike would be a good one, or a 690. People like 690s, but it's a KTM. So as long as you know how to use spanner. But for a starting off bike, then I thought the 350 engine was perfect. So a 250, people were like, why don't I get a really small engine like a 250? You have to use it more. You've got to use the gears more. So it's a bit harder work. On the other end of the scale, a 450, you're a lazy rider because you can just chug everywhere. So you don't actually learn to ride as much. This is what Alla told me, and I listened to him. But a 350 is like an in-between. So you can chug it when you're tired. You can zing it when you need to. And it's sort of, I found it a really easy to ride, forgiving bike. It still threw me off a few times, but I thought it was a great engine, great bike. So that's cool. But I mean, it depends. Like the Sierra 300 nowadays is like the bike to get, isn't it? Everyone says,
everyone's got that. Yeah.
My neighbour Barney, who you may have seen in my stuff, he lives 5 doors that way, and he bought that because of my recommendation. And that bike's cracking because it sort of ticks loads of boxes. That CRF 300.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really cheap at the moment as well. I think it's like $5,500, isn't it? $6,000.
Well, yeah, and he bought his brand new one. $5,000, brand new it was. They've gone up in price a bit now because of COVID tax and all the rest of it. But $5,000 brand new. And you saw your self boost, mate. Did you ride the trail at the ABR? Did you go around the loop?
No. I was there for. Did I even? No, I didn't even stay overnight. I was there for the afternoon. Really? That was it. I had to do a talk.
Friday, wasn't it? You were there. I saw you on Friday. Yeah. That's what I just when I turned up, mate, you were the first, but you're hard to miss, aren't you? You're a big bloke. You got a big beard, so I saw. But yeah, those CRF fringes were everywhere. They were everywhere. Yeah. This isn't a plug, no, at all. But I always film a lap when I'm there, and if you watch the one from this year, you'll just see. I even comment on it. There's CRF 300s just bloody everywhere. I mean, that's probably a good bike to go for, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's quite forgiving. I think the 300 was the one I used at Salisbury Plain with Phoenix, and it's a really forgiving and easy bike to ride. I rode the Husky 350. I rode that at. Have you been out to Toro Trail down in southern Spain? Have you done that? No,
I know of them, but I've not been yet.
Okay, might have something I can chat to you actually about after off camera. That's what they use. They've got a whole fleet of Husky 350s. And then they've got a whole fleet of the GSs as well, 1250 GSs. So they'll go off-road on both lots of bikes, and then they do like road tours on the GSs as well. But I did some off-road on the 350. But I just felt like a massive ape on this tiny little bike.
I know what you're going to say, yeah.
With the cymbals.
I wasn't implying you're a monkey, but if you want to,
I felt like I couldn't, when I was stood up, I was thrown over the handlebars, and then I just found I couldn't balance properly on the bike. I could never get the balancing right because I was either falling back and revving forward or falling forward and like not giving enough juice. Whereas with the GSs, really I feel like I can grip it.
Well, this is it. It's really funny. So I don't know if you know the Trail and Adventure motorbike podcast that Clive Barber does. He's a mate of mine. No. So I was on his, and we did a big bikes versus small bikes chat. And obviously I was on team big bikes, being a big bike guy. And that's exactly that was one of my main points, is that on the little bikes, I felt like I was like on a little bike, whereas I feel like I'm part of this when I'm riding it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like I can feel what this bike's doing more as the little bikes. It's only due to lack of talent. I'm not blaming the bikes, but I just find I get on better with these. Well, I would say to Simon, on the what bike to get, have a look at service schedules. That's a good one. So if you're not someone who likes tinkering with bikes, 350s and bikes like that are enduro, sort of they're road legal, but they're full on enduro bikes. So you need to change pistons and stuff, or get somebody to change a piston a lot more often. So maybe you want to get an old bomb-proof bike like a TTR 250 or a CR 300. The new ones are pretty good for service schedules. So.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, check that out, Si. What was I going to say? I found like I just couldn't balance on a little bike at all. When it comes to what you said, with a big bike, you feel part of it. You sort of, even with the GS felt much more natural for me to stand up on and ride off road. Whereas with the Husky, I was okay if when I was sat down, then I didn't mind giving it, big guns on the throttle and shooting off. Well, to my ability anyway. But I couldn't ride fast stood up because I just couldn't balance on the thing.
No, that echoes with me. And I'm all right-ish off-road, but I still find the little bikes, they're easier to ride because they're lighter and they're more forgiving. But I just never felt like I was like in harmony with the bike ever, really. Unless I was sat down around a motocross track, then it felt all right. But
right, that's
all. Simon, I hope that helped. Anyway, we've waffled a bit, but I hope that gave him some sort of answer.
And I'm sure if he needs any more advice, Simon, either DM me or DM Ollie. Make sure you're following him, and we'll keep you right. Right, that is us done with the clan questions. So we'll head across to Instagram now, which is at TeapotOne Insta, and I'll leave all Ollie's links down below.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, do you need a toilet break or anything like that? Are you all right for time?
I'm all good. I'm cracking on through these beers, so I'll keep talking more and more nonsense. I'm currently, if anyone cares, I'm on this now. Another fruity island. Another fruity. I don't know if you could read it. Hazy IPA, far out and fruity. It's very fruity.
Go on, describe it to us.
It's a scent of elderflower. I don't know. It just tastes fruity, mate. But
hollyhocks and fruit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Me again, folks. Just a short one. We are also sponsored this month by the Influencer Store. If you go to TeapotOne.com, you'll go to the shop, check out any of the merchandise that I have available. That is all handled by the Influencer Store right here in the UK. I've got a quick bit of blurb to read out for them, and that is: the Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design. And there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Make sure you check them out, folks. Head to TeapotOne.com, head to the shop, and you'll be supporting both the Teapot One channel and the podcast right here if you buy anything from the merchandise. So a massive thanks in advance to you, and a huge thanks to the Influencer Store. And lastly, folks, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast, for watching the vids, for commenting, for liking, for sharing, for following and subscribing. It all is a massive, massive help. We're on a bit of an upturn at the moment. The podcast is gathering momentum. The channel is certainly doing really well. So a huge thanks to everybody who's been involved with that. If you want to go that extra mile, then you can always buy some merch over at TeapotOne.com. Or if you really want to get committed, you can join the clan over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. All links for everything are down below, folks. I appreciate any support in any form you can give. All right, then. That's enough with the beg and bowl. Let's get back to the podcast. Right, there's one question on Insta, I think. I thought there was like 7 on Insta. What's going on there? Let me just refresh the page and make sure. I thought there were loads of ones over on Instagram. No, there's one. Okay. Right, G-Ohms, your time has come to shuffle off this mortal coil. You close your eyes, everything turns red, 10-foot letters appear saying game over. What game stats about your life would you love to see? Oh, wow. I love this kind of question. I love this.
It's so deep. Do you know what? Obviously we all listen to the radio, and when I hear celebrities answering questions like this, I always think, God, I'm glad I don't have to answer questions like that. I'd be rubbish at it. And then here I am, right, on a motorbike podcast.
Yeah, we've hardly chatted about bikes yet.
What stats would I like to see? Do you know what? Do you know the one stat that would make me feel happy about myself? If it just said 100% good lad. That
I like that.
Yeah. Like he was a decent, like you can blend that into whatever you like. He was a good lad. He wasn't a dickhead. He was nice to people. You know, he was a good lad. He did some cool stuff. He made people happy. Good lad. Yeah. There you go. And
that's all you can hope, though, isn't it? That is all you can hope for in life.
Because I try to live by the mantra, don't be a dick. But you know, I'm not saying I always reach that goal. But yeah. So if it said he's a good lad, I'd be happy with that.
Are you a spiritual person?
No.
Are you very much black and white? That's it. Common sense.
I'm a bit like, you know, don't mind either way. Yeah. I don't know. I'm quite, I suppose, sciencey and stuff, but I'm not anti-religion. I was brought up religious. I was brought up as a Roman Catholic kid.
Were you?
Yeah. I went to a Roman Catholic school, but I didn't like lose religion or anything. I just sort of didn't keep it up, if I'm allowed to say that without offending people.
I think I wasn't. You know, I was always. I think I was always an atheist, I would say, for sure. And now I don't know. I don't know anymore, to be honest. I think obviously in your line of work and in my previous line of work, you do deal with death. And it always struck me that when you saw someone that had passed, that they weren't human anymore. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like, the person's gone, isn't it? It's just a vessel that's left, isn't it? It's weird. And even when you see, like, obviously when my mum passed away, you could see that, you know, the person's not there anymore. And I remember just thinking, well, where'd you go? What happens after that?
Yeah,
Do you never think about that?
Mate. No, I do. I'd love to be religious and think that I'm going to go somewhere else. But I've just not been able. I'm too logical at the moment, I suppose.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And again, I'm trying really hard not to offend people here, because nowadays we offend everyone, don't we? I'm not trying to, but yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I've dealt with a lot of death in my job. So yeah. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. But what I do believe in, though, massively, is when it's your time, it's your time.
Aye.
So I've seen. I used to work in Scotland in the big hills up that way, and even on the road ambulance work or whatever, and down here every now and again. Some people will get themselves into a massive accident or fall down a big hill. And I remember picking up one guy in Scotland. He tumbled 400 feet down a mountain, and that's no exaggeration. 400 feet down a mountain, and all he'd done was dislocated his shoulder, and he had a hole in his shin.
What?
Whereas, I'm trying not to get myself into trouble by giving out patient details here, but I've gone to patients that have tripped and fallen from head height to the floor and caused themselves massive damage. Yeah. So I do believe that if it's your time, it's your time. It amazes me sometimes what I turn to go, how have you got yourself into this state from there? Or the opposite, how are you not dead from there? So yeah. So
the human body's just an incredible thing, isn't it? And that, and as exactly what you've just said, it can sustain catastrophic damage and still survive, but it can be so fragile.
Watch The Horn. Have you seen The Horn on Netflix? It's a program called The Horn. Nothing to do with bikes, people. Sorry, but it's the Matterhorn and it's the Air Rescue Services. Watch The Horn. Yeah, sorry, it's to do with medicine. Yeah.
I thought you said watch The Whore. I was like, what?
No, The Horn. But even The Horn could work, mate. Yeah, but get your mind out of the gutter, Bruce. Right? Yeah. So
Scottish
on Netflix, The Horn. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Then you'll see what I mean by people that you're like, how are you alive? But there you go.
I'll check that out then. I'm always looking for something decent to watch. I go on there and I watch like the things everyone's talking about, and then you're like, well, what else is there? And I'm just like, scrap. And you just end up thinking, well, when's the next thing coming out that I can watch?
How do you have time to watch TV, mate? I don't have time to watch TV.
Well, because I don't have any kids down here. You know, my son's 25 and he's got his own place and lives up in Scotland. So he doesn't live with me. And I've tried to get into the habit now of come sort of 5 o'clock, 5:30. That's it. I don't work in the evenings. Whereas I used to be working like 18, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you just get fecked off with everything then, you know, like you do though, don't you? Because like
you do. You're absolutely right, mate. I was editing.
The passion goes.
Work. Yeah. But even the editing, I was editing till 10:30 last night at work because I do 24-hour shifts. So I was doing some editing at work, but then you just go to bed thinking about your editing, don't you? So yeah, it's nice to switch off, mate. I just need to take some notes from your book, I think.
Well, it was Chase on Two Wheels. You know him, the American moto vlogger?
No, I don't know.
Never heard of Chase. He's massive. He's got like 1 million odd subs. So he came on the podcast. He came on the podcasts back in the early days, one of the first episodes. And I remember him saying that to me. He was like, you know, make sure you establish a work-life balance. And he was the one that said, I think it was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. As soon as that comes, that's it. He doesn't work weekends. Obviously, if you've got a tight deadline coming up for a vid that has to get out, then you put in the graft. But otherwise, he's like 9 to 5, boom, that's it. And then he spends time with his wife and makes sure that he's got a life outside. And I remember thinking, because I was full on, I'd not long gone full time, and I was just like, Jesus, no way, I'm throwing everything I've got at this. But he's right. He's totally right. Because you just get fucked off with it. You start chasing the figures, don't you? I don't know if you do that, but you're constantly looking at subs.
I try not to, but I have. I don't really chase the figures in the fact that that's why probably my channel's not massive, because I don't chase the figures, but I do look at my phone about every 30 seconds just as a habit, which is terrible, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
I'm exactly the same
nowadays.
I remember I was on a podcast not long into the first lockdown, and they were chatting about screen time on their phones. And I was like, what's I was the old boy.
I was like, at mine. I won't look at it. I refuse.
I was like, what is that? So they told me, and I'm on the podcast, and I looked, and theirs were like 6-7 hours. And I'm like, oh, that's terrible. God, I can't believe I do that. I'm not kidding you. Mine was like 22-23 hours. And they looked at me like I'd just pooed on their grandma's face. You know, they just looked at me like you're a disgusting human being.
Yeah.
Do you spend any time off your phone?
You just live on your phone.
Okay, I might have an issue. Jesus.
Yeah, I need to have a word with myself. Yeah,
definitely. So, with the channel then, what's the plans?
Do you know what, mate? I don't know. So I love doing YouTube stuff, but like I said, it's got to be on your terms a little bit, hasn't it? So I try and, although I said I was editing late at night, that's only because I was at work and, we do 24-hour shifts, so I have a bit of time every now and again, but I don't really know, mate. So what I like doing is going on adventures. Mm-hmm. And I think they make the best movies. And I think I capture adventure stuff better than I capture other stuff just because it's sort of our role. So I'd like to do more of that, but obviously that's easy to say, hard to do, isn't it? Because you've got to go on an adventure, pay for an adventure, find time to go on an adventure. So I don't really know, mate. At the moment, I've got a couple of reviews on the back burner that have been on the back burner for a while. And I've got a couple of companies saying, mate, we sent that kit a long time ago. So I need to really pull my finger out. But I honestly don't know, mate. I just sort of roll with the punches and go with the flow. I like making adventure stuff. So at the moment, I've prioritised that adventure spec weekend that one of the guys messaged in about, which is a right laugh. So I went away. I've known those lot for a while, just through chatting through WhatsApp and stuff. That's where social media is massively positive, isn't it? I met these people through Instagram, and now we're like good mates and go ride and have a right laugh. So I've been editing that recently, and that's the sort of stuff I like because I'm in hysterics whilst I'm editing it because it's just funny to watch back because we just had a right laugh. And that's what people like to watch. So more of that. But yeah, I don't know, mate. I've got a couple of plans for next year for some big adventures. I've got some bike reviews and stuff coming up. Some companies are sending me some stuff. Some of the bikes that you've already reviewed. But see how that goes. Like I say, I roll with the punches and see where life takes me. I should probably have more of a structure, but this doesn't, without sounding really boring, this doesn't pay my mortgage. So
exactly,
I have to privatize because I've got my own medical business and stuff. So I have to privatize all of that stuff. And this comes on the side. But annoyingly, this is what I enjoy doing the most. You know,
I totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. It's when everyone talks about this, when your passion becomes your job, then you can quite easily lose some of the passion for it.
And I think careful, haven't you?
I think I did for a little wee, certainly for the sort of early part of this year, I was really quite just despondent with it. And I was just like, I don't know if I can do this forever. You know, you kind of, the effort that goes into like the trip vids, you know, yourself, it's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot of work when you're out doing the trip and you're filming, and it's a lot of work in the edit. For quite a small return, really, because they just don't get anywhere near the views that like a bike review would get or something like that. And so conversely, you don't earn much in terms of YouTube revenue from that. And then I look at some other channels, and you know, they're just really, really basic, but they're ticking off the in vogue things at that time or at the moment. This is just pure jealousy on my part. You know, there's a lot of young ladies, young women coming in. Well, of course, what are you going to look at? Are you going to look at the fat geezer with a beard, or are you going to look at, you know, a nice young lass? Obviously, they're going to get the views, and it just really started getting to me, and that's not a healthy place to be. So I sort of I sort of moped around and felt sorry for myself for a while. And then you just suddenly start going, but you know what? Fair play to him. Fair play to anyone that is doing it. Fair play to anybody that has sussed it out and is figuring out this whole YouTube thing. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's down to us, isn't it? It's down to us to figure it out and work on your advantages however you want to, whether you want to grow your channel, whether you want to go for big views, or whether you just want to tick it along. So it's a hobby, but you're creating, like you specifically, you're creating shit hot content. It really is good quality stuff. Be proud of that. How did you teach yourself?
I appreciate that, mate. YouTube, generally YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that you say that, because I don't want to chuck smoke up my own backside, but I try and concentrate on quality over quantity, because going back to what you just said, if you want to get massive, you've got to just, I know what you were saying earlier in the conversation, but still you need to be putting out regular content. I think my last video was like over a month ago, and that's not good for growing channels and stuff, is it? But yeah, I think, and I don't want this to sound by any means a whinge, because we choose to do this, don't we, Bruce? We choose to do this. We can't whinge about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do think people don't realise the graph that goes into this. And even going back to what you said, you know, the girls that are getting all the views, and rightly so, I completely agree with you, because that's what I prefer to look at. Sorry, mate, as much as I'm enjoying this chat, that's what I prefer to look at. But I know a couple of those girls personally, you know, that do that stuff. And I don't think people realise the amount of graft they put in. Yeah, but not just a little bit of graft, like massive amounts of work goes into what they're doing. You know, and they're just playing to their advantages, which is great. That's what it should be doing. And fair play to them. And they're still growing the sport, aren't they? And doing that stuff. So I've got no beef with it. But I think everyone goes through that. Genuinely, I think everyone goes through exactly what you've just said. Yeah. You start to get a bit popular, and then you're not getting as popular as everyone else. And you're like, why not? And you get really grumpy. And I still go through like a sine wave of that sort of stuff, where I get like flipping tables with it, throwing laptops out the window. Not that I've ever done it, you know what I mean? And but then you come back to exactly what you just said. You think, well, fuck it. What does it matter? Just crack on, do what you do, and people will enjoy it if they enjoy it. It is hard. It is hard work, like for full HD, when I put my life and soul into that, and a lot of money as well. And it doesn't take off. That's a little bit like, I wish it just not to get any money back, but just I don't need hugs. I'm not a huggy. I'm not someone who needs to be told, oh, well done, mate. But just a little like, that would have done. Like,
a little bit of recognition for the effort that's gone into it. I genuinely think, mate, honestly, I think that full HD series, that is going to be a slow burner. And at some point, that is going to take off.
Genuinely. We were really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not disappointed, but we were surprised, whatever the negative form of surprised is, that it didn't take off just because of who was on board. So, you know, he put a lot of graft into that behind the scenes, getting all the sponsorship. And we had like Fox suspension, Fox suspension sent us a product to be their European launch. You know, two bloody idiots building a bike in a garage. Right, lads, we're putting our faith in you. Bosh, and we let them down by not making the race. Not to spoil the series for people, but
mate, we're missing a trick here. For anyone that's not seen it, can you explain full HD?
Yeah, in fact, I'm enjoying this chat so much, I forgot we've not even talked about it. Yeah, so full HD is Alad, my mate Alad. He lives in America now. He used to be in Wales. He is Welsh. He phoned me in lockdown one. I don't know how many lockdowns we had. Lockdown one. I remember exactly where I stood. I was in my old house, stood in the garage. We used to FaceTime all the time. The phone went, hello, mate, you're right. I've got an idea. Bear with me. I was like, yeah, go on. I want to take a 1992 Harley Davidson and I want to build it into a rally bike, and I want to go and race it at the Hellas Rally in Greece. And if people don't know what all of that means, watch episode 1 at least of the series, and it explains everything, just so I don't have to do it all now.
It's like the first 5 minutes, folks, honestly. It's awesome.
But the Hellas Rally is like, it's not like a couple of blokes going, this like the top rally riders in the world, Dakar riders go and do the Hellas Rally. It's part of a series, etc. Watch the series, it'll tell you. But anyway, he phoned me and I was like, yeah, that sounds stupid enough for me to be interested. Let's do it. And then Alad at the time had a habit, or probably still does, has a habit of getting excited about things, and maybe they don't all come to fruition. And I don't want that to come out in a negative sense. He's just a excitable character, which is always a positive thing. But
a puppy.
Yeah. But then a week later, he sent me a picture of the Harley Davidson in his van driving home. I was like, oh, so we're actually doing it then. Right, okay. So we took this 1992 Harley Davidson Sportster, which when we bought it was essentially standard other than a paint job. It had like 6-inch suspension on the rear. It was a 92 Harley Davidson. You know, It's not meant for rallies. We got a load of sponsors, but I say we, the royal we. Alad did a lot of graft, getting a lot of sponsors on board. I did a bit in the background. And then we built it into a rally bike, and it turned out to be one hell of an undertaking, shall we say. So logistically, Alad lived 4 hours away from me in Wales, and I'm a busy boy anyway. So trying to link up to get that done and to film, and he had to learn how to film. I had to do loads of traveling. We did a lot of spannering together. He did most of it because it was at his house, but it was just a massive project. And we say in the series, how you watch series on TVs, bike build stuff, car build stuff, anything, they always make it sound like it goes down to the wire. And you're like, this is just a bit like Top Gear. Top Gear is a bit put on, but you think, no, this went down to the wire. But watch the series anyway. Honestly, go and watch it. Please watch it. It took me a long time to make. We built a killer bike. It didn't quite go to plan without spoiling too much. But hey, you can't win them all, can you? But we still built a killer bike. I'm really happy with the series. And one day, maybe it will continue, but I'd like it to, but we'll see.
I've got to admit, right? I'd seen your name crop up. Other people had said to me, "Oh, you need to get this bloke on the podcast. Check out his vids; they're really good." Blah 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 blah. And I'd never done it. I'd never looked, right? And I think I'd caught one video or something on social media, and I thought, "Oh, he looks a good fella. What is all this about?" And we'd have a chat anyway. I think you commented on something, and I was like, yeah. I thought to myself, loads of people have said you'd be good on a podcast. So I was like, right, come on the podcast. And that's then I thought to myself, I better watch some vids and see, just have an idea. So I saw this full HD was the first thing that I saw. So I went on episode 1. I'm not kidding you. I think by episode 2 or 3, I binge watched everything. And I think by episode 3, one of them I commented on, and I was just like, how the fuck is this not got more views than it's got?
Yeah, I saw your comment.
You know, they've got like, 11, 12, 15,000, something like that views.
Well, like, bearing in mind, one of my videos has got over 1 million views. This full HD series, one of them's got 500 views. You know, they're like low viewing figures. I don't know why.
Really?
And I'm really surprised it didn't take off. Again, not from any, I don't need to be famous sort of thing, but I was just surprised that it didn't, especially because it's a Harley Davidson. You know what the family of Harley people are like, and the people we had on
titles. It's your titles and thumbnails. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, I tried to make it sound a bit quirky and funky, but thinking that it would take off anyway, so I wouldn't have to play the YouTube game. Whereas in hindsight, that was a mistake. But I mean, I'm not going to change it now. It is what it is. But
you'd be surprised. you can give videos a second life by changing. It takes it normally. Yeah, it can take 4 to 6 weeks for that to kick in. But if you retitle, redo the thumbnail, obviously do some SEO in the although they talk about the description, but a lot of vids I look at with massive viewing figures, they've got nothing in the blooming description. It's just title, thumbnail, boom. There must be tags. That's it.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and I probably should, but then like even in the edit, as in the video, the names and stuff are all in there. I don't know. I like it to be original. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Probably shoot myself in the foot here, but yeah.
Well, folks, make sure you check out Full HD. I will leave. If you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. If you're watching the video, have a look at the vid description, and I'll leave a hyperlink there straight to the whole playlist for Full HD. If you do nothing else, watch that. It's mint.
Thanks, Bruce, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Mate, honestly, I was staggered. I get it. I get people still to this day messaging me about the world playlist, just going, I can't believe that's not got more views. But I'm like, I was surprised,
mate. I looked the other day and I was like, how's this not got more views?
It's dated though, isn't it? It's really dated.
I think you've got people like that though, mate. I watched a few because I'll admit as well, mate. Us YouTubers are always busy. If I've got,
it was filmed on that.
Good lad. But if we've got spare time, we're normally editing, not watching other people's videos. That's how the world works, isn't it? But I was surprised. I looked at yours. I was like, why has this not got more viewings? Just because of what it is. But I mean, I don't know. Some things are weird, aren't they? Some things take off. Some things don't. I don't know.
I look at like Itchy Boots now, and I'm just like, oh God, drones and high HD, 4K cameras, everything that we've got now, and you're like, oh, I'd love to do the trip again and just film it all. It would be amazing to do that, but never mind. It is done. Cool.
It got you to where you are, mate. It got you to where you are, so it's all good.
Jonah, it was.
Do you know my favourite video of yours still is when you rapped on the coppers, when you left the coppers, that video. I loved it. I think the rebel in me was like, go on, lad.
It's funny because like so many, not just the coppers that I work with in the Met, but so many coppers from around the world. I think every copper's the same. Everyone's just like, the job's fucked. the public are shit. It's just they hate the job. They hate the public. There's so many coppers got in touch with me, just going, I wish I could do that. Fair play to you. Like, good on you. So
it takes some stones to do that, mate. Yeah, fair play.
It was a weird decision. And again, I think my wife. My wife's been an absolute rock for me since I met her. Like we met after I'd planned the world trip. So, she knew I was disappearing for a year and a half, 2 years. And she stood by me the whole way, and she stood by me all these years through all this. And it was my wife that turned around to me and said, when they did that to me at work and gave me the ultimatum, like they basically gave me an ultimatum, either finish everything on YouTube and social media and stay in the old bill, or we're going to throw the book at you. And all they could do is just give me a letter that said, keep your nose clean for 3 years. That's the most they could do. But they could tell me to stop all social media, everything. I couldn't even rebrand. And I just thought to myself, I've put too much into the whole TeapotOne brand and life, and I get more from that than I did from the job, from the old bill. Like all the old bill did was just give me grief. And I just thought, you know what, if we can make a go of it. And my wife just said to me, she said, just go, just try a year. Like we can survive off of her money if we needed to. Just go for it. So it's like, okay. So,
but even how you've said it, mate, even how you've just told the story, and if people haven't watched that video of yours, they definitely need to go watch it. But even how you've just made it sound so simple, haven't you? Like, just it's still that's a massive thing to do. It's a huge thing to do. And you did it. So fair play, mate. Yeah, it was good.
Thanks, man. With that, I'm very black and white with stuff like that. I've become a bit of a hippie with a lot of other things in life, but that sort of stuff, I'm just like, okay, right. If you make the decision, then go for it. See how you get on. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try something else. So, if I end up having to get a job driving for Tesco's, I'll do that. But at the moment, I'm surviving. So we shall see.
My mate did that during COVID. My mate, who's a pilot, lost his pilot job on the airlines. He drove for Tesco's. He loved driving for Tesco's. So hey, don't knock it. Sounds like a great job.
There was somebody else I know through. There's a few people actually. Ben King. Do you remember Ben King? King on the Road.
You can't forget Ben King.
Yeah. Well, he was doing that, wasn't he? He was driving for Waitrose, obviously. It wasn't Tesco's, it was Waitrose.
Ben King Gallon, yeah.
And then my mate Aaron, he was doing that as well. I think it was Tesco's or Asda. A lot of people I know did it during lockdown.
Yeah.
It's just doing their thing, wasn't it? Dude, we've got no more questions, but I could sit and chat to you for bloody all night. Is there anything you want to cover? Specifically?
What do you want to talk about? I mean, I don't want to sit and burn all of your time, but I'm equally in no rush because I'm sat in a happy place in a garage drinking beer, and I've got loads of beers left in my little beer fridge, mate. So whatever you want to do.
And you're working. At the end of the day, we're working at the moment. This is
work. Yeah. If the tax man's concerned, I mean, these are going on the bill. Yeah, I'm working.
All right then. So, in terms of bikes, what's planned for the future? Is there anything you can talk about? Like, have you got any trips or any other projects?
So I don't like talking about what I'm going to do. Not that I'm trying to be, look at this mysterious, but I find I've burnt myself before by saying, I'm going to do this and stuck it all over social media. Then something's happened and I've not gone away and you just look like an idiot. So I've got a few trips planned. So I'm going away in a week. Just for a very mini trip, but it'll still be some content, and it'll be. I'm not doing it for. That sounded wrong. I'm not doing it for content, but there will be content on the back of it. I'm doing it for the trip, so that'll be fun. And then nothing really else for the rest of this year. But next year, if all goes to plan, I'll have all the normal stuff going on. But I've got 2 massive trips planned for next year, which will be wicked trips to go on as an individual, just going on them. But, all the good stuff will come of it, of loads of media and videos and all that stuff, all the good stuff that people like to sit and watch. So, yeah, and they are massive trips. But I don't want to say any more, Bruce. I just don't want to jinx myself. So I'm not going to say anything. But other than that, I'm going to do a lot of stuff in this. I've sold my little bike. So this is my main bike and my only bike now, off-road. Yeah. So I want to strip this down over the winter and do some work on it. I've got a couple of ideas for series I want to do. My track bike, I want to turn the camera around, but it looks a bit messy. But I've got my track bikes here. I've really got back into my track biking, so I'll be doing a bit of that. But what I want to do, and you touched on it earlier, is it's quite easy for these YouTube channels to become a bit me. And I'm not I hope it hasn't seemed like that on this podcast. My job is to talk about myself because we're on a podcast, but I'm not a very me person. So I've got some ideas for next year. I might even start this year to make my channel more about bringing other people on. Not that I think I'm in that power, but just riding with cool people and making this a reason to go ride with cool people, as opposed to, hey, look, my name's Ollie and I'm riding bikes again. So I had a little thing. I was looking through my own channel thinking this is getting very me, this. So I want to steer it away so it's not all about me. So if I can make that more official, it would give me a reason to do it. So
no, yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
So I like doing the meetups, you know, with my clan over on Patreon. I sort of,
your clan's wicked, mate. You got a proper clan going on, haven't you?
It's fantastic, mate. Honestly, and I feel incredibly humbled by the level of support that people have shown me over there. Because effectively, over half my income every month is off of Patreon. You know, it's not a small amount. People, I get a lot of support from people on Patreon, and it's blown me away. But I feel like not that I owe. I want to give them something more back, something extra. You know, like they get early access to content and stuff on there. But I try and do, like, we call them clan meetups. So we'll again, I've not managed to do as many as I wanted this year. I think we've only done 1 or 2 this year. But we do these meetups and everyone gets together, and we've done like 3 or 4 now, and it's brilliant because there's its own little community is all sort of grown up around that, where there's all these, mostly fellas, I'll say, but there are some lassies that come as well. But a lot of guys who've been riding for years, but they literally go their set route in their hometown. They go to the same calf and home again, and that's what they do. They never ride with other people. They've never been abroad. They've never gone to other parts of the country. And all of a sudden, once they come along to one of these meetups where, you know, you get together with loads of other bikers and have a few beers and have a laugh, next thing you know, they're all exchanging numbers and they've got their own little WhatsApp groups together, and they're like, right, I'm coming out. I'll come and see you. And the next thing you know, like, people are going to Wales. They're going to Ireland. I've got folk that all of a sudden have buggered off to Spain and across into Europe, and it changes their lives. Totally opens up the world to them. And
that's what it's all about, though, isn't it?
Mega.
I mean, I hope people never think that people like us that do this rubbish on YouTube, we're trying to embellish ourselves, because honestly, I couldn't give a fuck. It's all about just trying about like building the whole bikery thing, isn't it? It's great. So that stuff, I mean, it warms the cockles, doesn't it? That sort of thing.
Totally. Yeah. It totally does, doesn't it? Because it is, I do find, like, the whole YouTube social media thing, you do become a bit, I think you do become a bit of a narcissist, whether you want to or not. Definitely,
yeah. When you're staring at yourself on screen all the time, aren't you?
Totally.
I don't look that good there. I need to make, of course you do. But
so,
that's part of the game.
I want to try and give something, you know, I want to give something back. You know, you do want, you do want
I want to be innovative. Yeah.
You want there to be more to it, don't you?
Yeah. No, man, I completely agree with you. That sounded very, I mean it. Yeah, definitely. That's what I mean. That's why I've got an idea for an avenue for exactly what you were just saying. I mean, I haven't got as big a following as you, but the same sort of deal where I can just use it as an excuse to get other people in touch with each other and blah, 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 and all that sort of good stuff.
What's your sub count at the moment? What's your sub count on YouTube? Yeah.
You've honestly put, I think it's about 15 and a half, I think. 15,500. No. I'm just thinking, because that's, you know, that is not an what's the word I'm looking for? That is not a small amount. That's a lot of people. You know, when you think about it, I've only got 10,000 subs. I get people going to, I've only got 8,000 subs. I've only got 12,000 subs. You're like, that's fucking 12,000 people that have made the decision to go click. You know, it's nuts, isn't it? Like, when I look and I've got 70 odd thousand, you're like, that's a great big stadium full of people. Mate. It's a lot, and especially because, you know, the bike world is a very niche YouTube world, isn't it? And we're in the adventure, but I'm in the adventure bike world, like through and through, which is very, very niche, you know. But mate, I'm always very humbled when I see the figures. It's mental. But what have you got planned? Come on, talk about me so far. What are you doing? Tell your clan what you're up to.
I have big plans for this year, which just didn't come about. I got not stung by the tax man, but because I don't know if you know, you'll probably know this. And the way tax works, obviously, is you work a year in lieu. So last year was my first full year on accounts, going full time. So the accountant worked out the tax bill, boom, paid it, done. And I had a battle fund all saved ready for this year. And I'd planned to go to India for like maybe 2 weeks. And I planned to do like a 10-day sort of almost not quite a sprint. Well, it's going to be a sprint, but right across the States. But I was going to try and meet up with as many people as I could over there, like do big days, cover 3,000 miles, just get across some states and then spend some time in another place and another big chunk across, just work my way right across to the West Coast. However, the accountant then said, obviously, you've now got to pay, as well as this year's tax bill, you've got to pay 50% of next year's now. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have to pay the next 50% in June or July, whenever it was. I was just like, what? Sorry, I didn't realise any of this.
Yeah.
So that basically wiped out my battle fund. So all this year I've been like, have I got enough money to get fuel to go to, to go to Wales and go and do this? This year's been proper penny pinching. So yeah, as long as we don't get another massive tax bill, which I won't for next year, then next year I want at least, I'm hopefully it's not confirmed, but I'm hopefully returning to Morocco next year. So I'm really looking forward to that if it happens. I want to try and do Ireland, get that in. And I really want to get to India, but obviously India is a much bigger
so
trip.
Many people have told me to go to India. So obviously I did the Nepal trip and that video hit the algorithms. I mean, it's like a 1.1 million or something ridiculous. But
wow,
lots of the people that watched it were Nepalese and Indian. And I've lost track of the amount of comments that said, you need to come to India. You need to come to India. You need to come to India. So, and then if you look, there's a lot of there's even British people that do tours in India. There's lots of stuff. The riding looks cracking. Looks amazing. So yeah, you need to get yourself there, mate. That'd be brilliant.
I've got the thing about I want to do it on a sports bike. I just want to. I want
back to your roots.
Yeah, I'm kind of the new GS.
You're a nutter. You do such crazy stuff. Like even your little electric thing. That's the wrong term. The big electric thing you just did around the whole bloody country. Like I think, what's this guy doing? He's a nutter.
But I don't like we just chatted about. I don't like being the same as everyone else. And I'm a moto vlogger on YouTube, and we all do the same old shit. We all do the same old. You don't, but we all do the same bike review vids. You don't do like bike review, which a lot of the channels do. And I was doing it for a while just because, we couldn't travel so much in lockdown. But you do the bike reviews because they get big views, and with the big views, you tend to get more subs with the bigger views. Yeah. But they bore the shit out of me. They don't do it for me. I'd rather be doing something, like going somewhere on a trip or doing something. That's
exactly what I said earlier, mate. Exactly what I said. I much prefer going on adventures because that's a bit self-fulfilling, isn't it? I've got a bike being delivered. One of the bikes you've done. I don't want to give it away too much, but it's the same thing. And I'm really happy they've reached out and they want me to do it. That's great. But equally, I'm like, it's a fucking noise. Like doing a bike review. It's like doing kit reviews. It's not the most fun thing to film, is it? But
I think the key to it though is making it unique for you, putting your stamp on it. And
I've got some ideas. I'm quite like an ambivalent sort of. So that will come across in the video, but in a comical manner. Hopefully, we'll see. You'll be the judge. You'll be the judge. You'll be the judge. Yeah.
Well, mate, I hope you get a bit of a kick in the arse in terms of subs and followings and stuff from this, because I'll be shouting from the rooftops about it.
Thanks, mate. But like I said, generally I'm not that bothered. But I mean, I really appreciate it. But like, I'm not angling at it too much. But yeah, it's cool. I really. The gesture goes a long way. I really appreciate it.
No worries. It's weird for me because the Teapot channel is doing well, and then the podcast YouTube channel, I think it's like 2,000 subs or something.
Yeah, that's what I noticed, mate, which I found was crazy. Yeah.
And they'll like a video will get 500 views, 600 views sometimes. Whereas the podcast gets like 10 to 15,000 a month. Yeah. It's like in the top 5% globally. It's ridiculous. But
hey, that's crazy. Do you release this as a podcast as well? I'm assuming it's actually on as a podcast, is it?
Yeah, the audio version goes live every Wednesday, and then the video. I should
probably know this, shouldn't I? I should probably do my research.
Sorry, don't worry. And then the video version that will go live the following Monday on the YouTube channel. So it's always audio, video. It just rotates around like that. Yeah. But it's weird how it doesn't correlate. But I had to split them because the podcast was really hurting the big main channel, because the videos were like 2-3 hours long, and there was only 400 or 500 people watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they watch for 20 minutes or half an hour, that's massive for YouTube. That's huge, but it's a small percentage because the video is like, if it's a 3 hour,
video is massive.
Yeah. So it's small viewer retention, small figures, and it was just hammering the big channel. So I had to split them in the end, sadly. But I enjoy doing it. I really enjoy doing the podcast. Obviously, I've got verbal diarrhea.
It's great because we get to chat like we've never met. This is the first time we've ever met, so we get to have a little chat, which is great. Yeah,
absolutely.
I envy you a little bit. I did think in lockdown, I did think about doing podcast stuff, and then I just didn't. And it's probably a mistake. Probably should have done, because they seem to be very popular. But like I said, going back to what we said, it's more work, isn't it? It's more. It's a lot of work. This is a lot of work. So fair play to you. Cheers to TeapotOne, Bruce.
No worries. It is more work, but I just enjoy this. In fact, I'd probably go to say I enjoy this more than like some of the other YouTubey stuff I do. I really enjoy the trips. I love doing the trips, and I've done loads of trips now that I've got about 8 months worth of content still to edit. So I'm basically, till next year, I'm just housebound, just sat every day editing, trying to churn out trip after trip after trip. People will be sick of them, I think.
But, mate, I'm the same. It gets stressful in the fact that you think, I need to get this stuff out. Like, I'm the same. I could list you like 10 things now that I've got in edit that I just need to get finished.
Yeah. And as you said, once you start getting like sponsors or like provided kit, people give you kit on the provision that you do a video on it, all this sort of stuff. Once you start having that, it's extra pressure, isn't it? And it's always in your mind like, shit, I've got to do that video, I've got to do that video. And you always get people if you do a vid, like if I do a sponsored vid, then you'll always get some arsehole that will put in the comment, advert, and you're just like...
Yeah.
And
there's one guy, and I don't want to mention his name because it gives him a credit when he shouldn't have any credit, but there's one guy on Facebook who is that guy, and it makes me laugh. His anti, it's like he just doesn't get it. Like, well, why should we trust what you're saying? Because you got that stuff for free. Yes, mate, but I also spent 2 days filming a video, 2 weeks editing a video. So there's work that goes into it, buddy. You don't just get stuff for free. But and I've given you an honest opinion. But anyway, whatever. There's some people that just like to want to watch the world burn, Bruce. They just want to watch it burn.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's insulting though, isn't it? Because I'm like, the only thing I've got in life is my integrity. It's the only thing, and it's the one thing that I will protect, like hook, line, and nail. I'll protect my integrity with it. So if I think something's shit, I'm going to say it's shit, and I have done, to the detriment. You do it to the detriment of the channel, really, because I know I've annoyed some PR companies, and that's it. Once you've annoyed one of the companies, you're blacklisted, and if you can say that anymore.
I've not got to those dizzy heights, but I'm sure it's a flip game. I just don't engage because I can't be bothered. But I find it funny, actually. I like the negativity; it just makes me laugh. But yeah, I get it. Bruce, I meant to ask you: do you track? I keep looking at my track bike. Do you track? Do you ride track?
I do, but I don't have a track bike. I just take the GS on it. And just
I've seen you on the GS and I didn't know if you rode track bikes. That was all.
I would love to, but I can't afford a track bike. But I do enjoy the track stuff for sure. Yeah,
you should get into that. You'd enjoy it. It's great. I love it.
Mate, that is just a money pit.
Mate, it's expensive. It's expensive. So anyone who wants to track bike, I'm looking directly at the camera here. It is, I reckon, £400 to £500 a day in the UK. Now, it never used to be. When I used to track when I was a lot younger, it was cheaper. Whereas, I mean, everything's more expensive. But yeah, every day I did this year was at least £400, if not 500. When you include fuel to get there, fuel for the bike, ticket, food, blah, 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 everything. About
tires. Do you run slicks?
No. So I've got them up on the wall. I keep looking at them. I'm sorry that your camera can't see. They're just there. But no, I've got they're sort of mini treaded. They're Conti race attacks, if anyone knows what they are.
Oh, yeah.
Bike, but they're good. And I've got a set of wets on wheels as well, so full wets, which are Michelin Reigns. But the tyres last quite a long time, to be honest. If you're not racing, if you're racing, you'd get rid of them, wouldn't you? But that's why you get scrub tyres all the time. But I'm not racing. I'm just going around trying to get my knee down and feel like I'm really cool. So it doesn't really matter too much.
I've just done with California Superbikes. Have you ever done that, California Superbikes?
No, I know of them. No, I don't tend to ride with a lot of companies. I probably should. I mean, you probably get loads of offers, mate, but I don't. I'm not angling for it, but like I don't do that sort of stuff.
I was just going to say, because I've done the 4 levels where you can do as many level 4s as you want. You know, level 4 is like a really bespoke. They start tearing your riding down and breaking it right down into various elements. But levels 1, 2, 3, you do 1, then 2, then 3, and then up into 4, and that's it. So I'm at level 4 now. But they're always, I get on really well with them, and they're always asking, you know, who should we contact. So, you know, again, we can have a chat after this, and if you're up for it, I can.
Hey, mate, I'm always up for it, but I don't want it to come across like that's what I'm trying to get out of this.
No, don't worry.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm just here to drink beer and have a chat. That's good enough for me. Like, nothing needs to come of it, but I'll always say yes. Yeah.
No worries at all. Right. Okay. No worries. We'll sort that. And there's a couple of other things that I'll chat to you about afterwards. I've done levels 3 and 4 at California this year at Cadwell, so I've still got to edit them. But I was the same. I was showboating all the time, like, because I could put my knee down. So I'll put my knee down, like every bend, I'll be like, yeah. And I'm on the tractor, I'm on the GS, and you're like, yeah, look at this. But you're slow putting your knee down, unless you're going so fast and leaning over so far that your knee touches down. I wasn't. I was just hanging off and putting my knee down. So you end up going a lot slower.
You're not the only one, though. You're not the only one. So I'm all right on the track bike. You know, I'm like high inters or early fast sort of pace. So I'm not by no means a hero, but I'm not slow. It's funny because that's exactly what I did when I first started. You just want to get your knee down all the time, so you can say you got knee down. Yeah. But then where I am now, knee down is just an indication that you're at the right speed for the corner. So you're not really trying to get your knee down. But yeah, it's funny because whenever I speak to people who've just done track days, I've got my knee down. It puts a smile on my face, not from a like, it's just from I remember when I was back there, and that's what you want to do. You want to get your knee down all the time. Yeah. But I love it now. And I've realized going back to tracking. So for people listening, so I used to track years ago. I've got back into it recently, and having ridden dirt for 5 years, my tracking is much better now. Because especially like it rained the other day when I was at Donington Park, and you know you're used to bikes moving around. So when my little CBR6 was, and it's an ex-Padgett's Honda race bike, you know, so it's pretty done up, but it was giving it big licks because the tires were cold, and you know I'm not the most talented, but it didn't faze me. I probably there's a lot of luck involved, I should imagine, why I didn't come off, but because this thing was always chucking me around in the dirt, you sort of get used to it. So yeah. Biking, you've just got to do all the biking, haven't you, Bruce? You've got to do all the biking. Every single discipline.
It's true though, isn't it? I mean, and then there's a reason that all the MotoGP and World Superbike guys, when they're training, they're off-roading, aren't they? They're
and you always hear the commentator. The commentator always says, you can tell that he's been riding off dirt for the season. You can just tell by how they're riding. Yeah.
It's weird though. See, when I used to ride the Jigsaw, I used to ride way quicker than I do now, and I used to ride too quick on the road. Like I look back and wonder how I'm not dead because it was just ridiculous. You know, maxing out a Jigsaw on public roads is not a good idea, but that's what me and some of my mates used to be do all the time.
There, mate.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's idiocy. And now I'm the polar opposite. Now I'm much, much more reserved. But I used to love the Jigsaw moving round under, I used to love that sensation of the bike moving. And now it scares the shit out of me. The second I feel a bike moving underneath me, I'm like, oh, no.
I am taking you off-roading in the dirt. I'm taking you.
Everyone says this to me.
Yeah. You'd love it, mate. Yeah. Were you a Met copper biker? I don't know what the actual term for it was.
I had just done my course for I used to work in diplomatic protection, so
you're on the SO crowd,
Yeah, I was SO, but I wasn't SEG. SEG is like a separate department themselves. I was the ones that used to stand outside like Downing Street and Houses of Parliament and any copper with a gun in uniform that stood outside an embassy or consulate, and that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
So, but we also had a bike wing. So we used to be armed riding around London, answering alarm calls within the diplomatic community.
Sounds great.
It's great. It's awesome job. Fantastic. Gucci started drinking coffee in Mayfair. So I just done the bike course for that. Literally, I finished on the Friday, turned up for work on the Monday, and got served the notice to say you're being investigated. And it was just like, so I never got to ride the bike in anger. So I was just like, gutted. I will. Never mind. I got the course, so
yeah, Sailor taught a few things, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Dude, that's 9:15. Well, what are we? 9:15?
9:15 now, mate. Yeah, I feel like we might be boring your listeners now. We're just talking about random stuff.
It's just two blokes in the pub talking shit. Now,
yeah, that's exactly just what it's turned into, isn't it? Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to cover? If you want to give a shout out about anything, if there's anything in particular you want to chat about?
Do I want to give a shout out? No, I've not got anything I can think of, really. I should probably have people to shout. I can shout out a load of different people, but no, mate. No, I've really enjoyed. This has been really good fun, mate. I've really enjoyed this.
Me too.
The channel is cracking. The podcast is amazing. It's really good. I've watched a few of them, but yeah, no, mate, it's been good. Thanks for having me on, by the way. I mean, I didn't reach out to you. You reached out to me, which is a bit odd, but that was great. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Genuinely, Ollie. It's an absolute pleasure. And folks, please check out Full HD. Well, check out his channel, but for sure, check out Full. I've just lost an ear. For sure, check out that Full HD podcast because playlist because it's mega. Really, really is good. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, mate. Genuinely, I mean that. Thanks for having me. It's been cracking. I've got
absolute pleasure.
I've got a beer left, so I can sit and drink that in my own time. But yeah,
I've just started my last one too. Folks, I will leave all the links for Ollie's channel and socials. I'll leave all the links down below, so make sure you check them out. Give them a subscribe, give them a follow, a like, a share. If you enjoy what you see, make sure you tell all your mates about it. And last thing, folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. Keep doing your thing. Get on out there whenever you possibly can. Look after those that you love. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Well said, my man. Thanks, buddy.
Just dude, no worries at all.